2, 3, 4. Did you like it?
After the tannins were washed out.
Yeah, so let's not forget that these are fruit trees, right? So if you know how to do it right, which Tim does, you wash out the tannins, you can eat the fruit of these trees, and they're it's more like a bread tree because it's a carbohydrate which our bodies need. So we're gonna dig a hole. Wow, this is not hard at all. This is nothing like the clay that I'm used to.
We ordered the rain yesterday.
Wow.
It showed up on time.
Dude, even if it didn't rain, it seems to be pretty easy to dig. Look at that.
It's sandy.
So digging a hole, it's an art and a science. But the key really is to use as little of your back as possible. Use your leverage. So what I'm doing is I'm using my body weight as much as possible, and then when you're bending, you want to bend your knees thoughtfully, keep an arch in your back. And it's all about leverage, right? So the more you're using the top of the shovel, the easier it's going to be. So what I like to do, and this is just so easy, is I like to cultivate the soil or the sand before I pull it out of the hole. So if you have clay, you really want to break it up, especially if it's really heavy clay. I like to kind of dig around where the hole is, you know, kind of make the circle. Oh, maybe there's a stone or two down there.
Archaeology,
Go. Cultural resources. So yeah, so I like to kind of dig around and cultivate the soil. So I'll do this pretty easy with sandy soil, and then I amend that, and I amend it right in the hole. So I like to mix all that up so that it's got good moisture retention and some nutrients. So this is our compost, yeah?
I think so. Yep, that's it.
So we're gonna just amend it just like that.
Oh, by the way, we found a fairly good-sized gopher snake here the other day.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Those we want in thousands here. So that'll stop the gophers. Yeah, that's good. You'll notice that these tree tubes will already start to be habitat structure for birds. So maybe you might even see a raptor perch on one of these so it can swoop down and eat the gopher snake.
or an egret.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
we saw a great blue heron was here this morning when we first got here.
Yeah, we are immersed in this habitat here, so that's the nice thing about this place that we live. So you see, I'm just mixing up the compost with the soil, right? Want to kind of evenly distribute it. I do it in the same hole, same area, general area. Get a little more of this.
How far down are you planning to go?
I go down as far as the gopher basket.
Okay.
So it's about a foot and a half. So I'm just mixing this up.
I don't know who dumped it out, but oh well.
Making sure I'm aligned with everything else too, right? Because you dig a hole and then before you know it, you're all the way over there. So you gotta keep your bearings.
Given we've all probably seen this, where the wind is predominantly coming from the northwest, we know a lot of trees, especially along Pasadena, where the Italian stone oaks or pines are bent over like that. What do you think about compensating in terms of putting the tree? Should it be bent that way? So
No,
that it
it's not gonna
eventually
matter.
straightens up?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
nothing stopping the prevailing wind. Just these trees, so they'll probably bend a little bit too. Yeah, so that's pretty good, right? You see it's
Yeah.
evenly mixed. It's a little darker now. And now, if you're on a slope, I always like to put the soil on the uphill side so that you can just drag it down. So all these little tricks make it easier if you gotta dig 100 holes, right? So now I'm gonna remove the soil from the hole, put it to the side, and we want to dig down. Wow, sand. We want to dig down to bury this gopher cage. So I'm kind of making more or less a foot wide circle. Get a little bit of different substrate or different kinds of soil as we dig further down.
A lot of times people, when they're planting trees, forget to look up and look down. In other words, they'll plant underneath a bunch of electrical lines. And if you notice on LOVR, on the south side, they have to cut those eucalyptus all the time, and it's on PG&E to do it. But the people that planted the trees, and the eucalyptus are good for windbreaks, but not much else. The other thing is that Wendy had to go to the Underground System of America to get an approval that there's no underground utility lines, gas, electric, water, so that we don't hit anything. If we hit oil, we'll split it. That's part of the oil.
Okay, so as the hole gets deeper, I like to, you can, when you dig lots of holes all day, I'm always trying to reduce my energy use and my bending. So as you get deeper, you just want to keep using your body weight. Dig the hole, keep using your leverage. Keep your knees bent. So, how do you know when you've dug deep enough? Any guesses?
You try to put the gopher basket in there?
Yeah. So another way to do it without having to put the gopher basket in it is to use the tool you have in your hand, right?
Exactly.
So we've got a gopher cage. They're flattened here. I'll put my gloves on because they'll cut your hand, so you got to be careful with these edges here. See how I'm on my haunches and on my knees. So I'm always trying to, from experience, I've learned that the less you're stressing your back, the happier you are. Right? So these have these little dog ears here.
Beautiful.
Flat bottoms. Okay, so I could put this in there, and I will. But another thing you can do is you can measure how deep it is. So right here is where I'm trying to go. So I gotta go deeper?
Yep.
Maybe.
A little bit, huh? So yeah, there you go. You really gotta get down to grade to know if you're deep enough. So
Yeah.
Grade is the soil level.
yeah, grade is the soil level, exactly. So we gotta go a little bit deeper. So sometimes you'll see me digging the rest of the hole on my knees. You don't have to, but I don't feel like getting back up.
Another tool you can use are knee pads.
Yeah.
If you're going to be out there, you can get them at the hardware store. If you're doing weeding
Yes.
or planting or whatever.
When they're down.
Okay, how we doing here? So one thing to keep in mind when you're planting is that the soil is gonna settle, right? So when you plant a tree, you loosen up the soil, and so the soil is gonna settle. So often what you'll see when you see plantings everywhere is you see sunken trees all over the place. So essentially the rule of thumb is for every inch of diameter of tree trunk, you want to be an inch above the grade, right? An inch above the surface. This is not even an inch, so you just want to be a little above the surface. So we're getting pretty close here. Let's take a look. Careful not to cave in the sides, especially with this sandy soil. So that's pretty close. I'm gonna dig down just a little bit more.
I have a question about that cage.
Yes.
Does the taproot then grow through, and break through the cage?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and these will rust over time. They'll break down. They're galvanized, but eventually they'll rust. So you just want to give the tree enough of a head start that it can outgrow any of its competition, the gophers, the voles, whatever else wants to eat it, because they're delicious. Okay, so that's pretty good there.
And these are not too hard to build. You buy that galvanized chicken wire kind of stuff.
You want to do it with a company because it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
Unless you're watching a TV show or listening to music or something, or a podcast, it can get pretty boring making these. But it's a lot more boring pulling out a dead tree from a gopher attack.
What would
Okay.
you consider a success rate for all these trees?
When
90%?
I use all of these protective measures, I mean, we should have a 90% success rate. Yeah.
If they're watered right.
Yeah, we
If-
water them.
Watering is key. So what I like to do now is I break around the edges. Just to start filling in the around the basket, because it's much easier than moving soil. It's a big rock right there. Protein for the tree, maybe. So there you go. Now you see it's kind of keeping the sand on the outside, which is good. We're gonna have some extra soil. Okay, so another thing I do, you can just use the tree itself, but is I'll measure the tree. Okay, so that's just about at grade. You can also do it like this. So yeah, that's a little low.
Do you eventually want to have the top soil of the planting tree at the grade level, at the level of the soil next to it, or
A
do you
little-
want it well?
He said a little bit above.
I like to do one thing that I
Oh, I see
want to
what
make
you're
sure
saying.
not to forget. I like it a little above because it's going to settle.
It's compact, isn't it?
Yeah.
So one of the tricks about planting these is that we need to use these stakes. And so in order for the tree to grow up straight, you want to make sure that the tree is right next to the stake, and then the tree tube is going to hold up the tree. But you need to put this stake through the bottom. So you kind of want to make sure that you're not destroying the bottom. So what I like to do is find where there's kind of an avenue for the stake to go through. Doesn't have to be perfect, but so here's a space right here. Everyone want to come take a look at that?
So you make a hole for this,
Yeah.
and then kind of auger.
So I
in
set it
a
right
hole
there,
with the
and I know that
snake
that's
lip.
gonna go through.
Come on in, folks, take a look. Because this could be the difference between success and failure.
Right. So I'm just looking for these kind of 3/4 inch
Yeah.
holes here. Yeah. So now that I know where it is, I left my mallet in the truck, but
I'll
that's
get it.
okay because the best tool that you have is the one on you. There you go. You want it to be sturdy enough.
About as tall as Ben is?
I know, I think so. Ben height.
Yeah, he's a good measuring stick. So, looking pretty good here. The last thing I like to do is just break up a little bit of the roots in the bottom. There we go, that's starting to look good, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see, here's grade. Here's the tree, so it's still a little low. When in doubt, go a little bit higher. Yeah? There we go. And now we're ready to backfill. So,
We might even use a stake to tell if it's at grade, like if it's
Okay,
hard for people to
exactly.
tell.
yeah, so here's how you can
Yeah.
take a look. You could just set it on the ground here, make sure it's flat. So you can see, yeah, that's just a little above grade. Now we backfill.
So there's no need to water the hole before the tree goes in?
No. Sometimes you want to pre-irrigate a hole if it's clay, just so you can dig it.
Oh, okay.
But really it's about watering after. So the other thing I like to do is compact the soil as I'm planting, right? So you want this to be nice and compacted. Yeah.
Can you use the end of the shovel to do that?
You can use the end of the shovel.
Yeah.
I like to use my fist,
Uh-huh.
just because it's a bigger surface.
Mm-hmm.
You get out any of that extra energy punching the ground.
Now, have you ever bought Arm & Hammer baking soda?
It is the original.
Yes.
Okay, so we're getting close here. Backfilling the sides. At this point, I can get back up onto my feet. And I can kind of just drag the rest in. So you might ask, well, what are we doing with these flaps here? Well, I'm about to show you. This is kind of the final part of the fortress for this tree. Is making sure that nothing can get in between the ground and the tube. Here we go. Filling this. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So now the secret ingredient to success is right over there behind this gentleman, Barry, and that is mulch. Mulch are trees' best friends for two reasons. One, because mulch reduces water evaporation, so you have more moisture in the ground for longer. And two, trees like a fungal dominant soil. So wood is broken down by mushrooms and fungus. So when we add, it's basically the best food for a tree is other dead trees, just like a forest. So there we go. We've got the hole filled, packed down nicely. Got the ears, the dog ears up, nice and full. Tree's nice and tall and sturdy. And now I take the mulch, and I like to use a 5-gallon bucket. And looks like eucalyptus and cypress.
Because of the chemical properties that come off of the leaves and the trunk of eucalyptus, if you look underneath, you won't see much other brush. It's called chemical warfare between plants. And getting this eucalyptus is going to keep the weeds out. And it's one of the, I guess, the other good things about eucalyptus.
So I like to put a little bit of mulch in between the soil and the dog ears. All right. So,
But you're not piling it up too high,
not
right?
piling it up too high, just a thin layer
Uh-huh.
like that. Got my dog ears here. Just a little bit there. Okay, now we're ready for the tube. So here comes the tree tube. This is going to be a nice greenhouse for this tree to grow straight up. One thing you want to watch out for is sometimes the zip tie will go in like this. So you want to keep it on the outside so that it doesn't hook this tree. I'm just going to remove these last little limbs here and force it upwards. And any more little stragglers? No. So, it looks like the sun might join us. You want the perforations and these metal wires on the top.
Yeah.
And make sure this goes over the stake. Come on, buddy. All right, so now you've got a nice little zone. Zip tie.
What do the
And
zip ties
last-
do?
They just they hold it on the stake. And then lastly, I
put the stake
button
around
up
it.
the
You put it around the
dog
stake.
ears
get it.
here, and I cover them so that gophers can't get in on the inside. And I put it up snug against the tube. So it's fortress all ready to go. It's medieval fortress, so that nothing is gonna break through its defenses.
All you need is a moat now.
And then we make the moat with water. Well, it won't last long in this soil. That's it. And so I just take these little ends here that are twisted and I flip them around there. Just one or two. Voila.
Yay.
Now
How much water?
we have our tree. And now I like to do a 5-gallon bucket of water at least.
5 gallon.
Yeah, and you could just add, these guys love mulch, so you don't need to pile it up too high, but you can go wide. All right, yeah, plenty of eucalyptus around. And that's it. You can cover those, the metal a little bit if you'd like. And there you go. Does anyone want to peek in and see how it's doing?
Yeah.
Looking good.
So you pour the 5 gallons slowly right in the hole.
Yeah, so the last thing is watering, and I'll show you that now. It's warming up
How long do you leave this
until it busts through. So, maybe 5 to 10 years.
Really?
Oh yeah,
You leave this on for 5 to 10 years?
until it busts open, and that's why it has these
Perforations.
Where are they?
On this
Right
side.
here. See 'em?
Wow.
Yeah, so this thing is kind of like, yeah.
That's amazing.
The negative part is that the people expect to see trees have to wait.
Good things take time, as I like to say.
All right.
So there you go. So that's ready to
Did
go.
you guys ever think of painting a tree on the side of the plastic?